One of the most influential civilizations ever to arise, the Roman Empire, had surprisingly humble beginnings. The legendary tale of Romulus and Remus tells of its founding in about 753 BCE along the Tiber River. Though this story is not supported by convincing historical evidence, there is reason to believe that at this date, Rome indeed resembled a small city-state. By 509 BCE, the Roman monarchy was out and the Roman Republic was in. The governing of the new system was to be carried out by elected officials, 2 consuls and a senate. In such a way, this would ensure that power could not fall into the hands of one man, but was shared among many. This was a peculiar structure that allowed Rome very gradually, through time, to spread throughout the peninsula of Italy. The early development of Rome was through the series of military campaigns undertaken. In this respect, it sub-occupied the neighboring tribes like the Etruscans and the Samnites during the 5th to 3rd century BCE. These conquests gave the Romans control of central Italy and initiated its rise as a major power. As Roman power expanded, so did the series of conflicts that would define its course. First and foremost among these was the Punic Wars between Rome and Carthage, from 264 to 146 BCE. Carthage was a powerful city-state in North Africa and an immediate threat to Rome, with its huge empire and mastery of the sea. The most remembered scene of this period is the audacious passage of the Alps made by Hannibal with war elephants, which brought Rome to a near defeat. Though there were some initial successes by Hannibal, Rome Lady Luck finally smiled upon Rome when, after 2 decades of struggle, it emerged victoriously and dismantled the power of Carthage, gaining territories such as Sicily, Sardinia, and Spain. The subjugation of Carthage left no one to challenge Rome's supremacy in the Western Mediterranean, but the cost had been high. Even more than after Pyrrhus's invasion, the exposure to Hellenistic culture caused by the Roman conquests of Greece in the 2nd century BCE enriched Roman art, literature, and philosophy. Greek influence brought with it architectural innovations and a heightened sense of educational awareness, but it also quickened the social and political divisions between city and country. This wealth generated by the conquests led to economic inequality and created a powerful elite versus a lower class struggling for subsistence. Brothers Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus attempted to address this inequality through advocacy of land reform to redistribute some of their wealth. The Senate wholly opposed their methods, and these reforms met violent conclusions, hence revealing an inability of the Republic to conduct internal conflict gracefully. Yet, as the city of Rome continued to expand, it became quite clear that with such an amount of land came time-consuming maintenance. By the 1st century BCE, the struggles for power amplified, and successful generals used their victories to add to their political clout. A popular general was Julius Caesar, who conquered Gaul. The Senate ordered him to disband his army in 49 BCE, but Caesar crossed the Rubicon River anyway, a fateful act that plunged Rome into civil war. Caesar's victory consolidated his dictatorship, a concentration of power, which proved alarming to many. Thus, he was assassinated in 44 BCE. Caesar's assassination only led to further chaos in Rome and exposed an underlying problem with the Republic. Caesar's assassination and the resultant power vacuum set the stage for newer conflicts. His adopted heir, Octavian, joined forces with Mark Antony and Lepidus within an uneasy alliance known as the Second Triumvirate, which was destined to dissolve due to ambitious rivalry among its members. The alliance of Antony with Cleopatra VII of Egypt and the subsequent defeat at the hand of Octavian in the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE proved to be the turning point. Octavian emerged as the sole ruler and, in 27 BCE, was granted the title Augustus, thereby starting to be recognized as the first emperor of Rome and therefore marking the end of the Republic. The rule of Augustus was transitional. He brought in political and social reforms to make Rome stable after generations of troubles. He professionalized the army, reorganizing the provincial government and embarking upon a vast building program, roads and aqueducts that would help to integrate this new empire and stimulate trade and communication from one corner of it to the other. The succeeding period is called the Pax Romana and is a time when, for 2 centuries, relative peace and prosperity prevailed. The Roman frontiers were extended by emperors such as Trajan, who carried out successful campaigns into Dacia, the present-day Romania, and Parthia, and who forced the empire to achieve the greatest territorial extent. This was an era of economic development spurred by a network of exchange reaching from Britain far into the Middle East. The infrastructure projects, such as roads connecting far-flung provinces and supplying military logistics and commerce, blossomed. The cities bustled, boasting public baths, amphitheaters including the Colosseum, and temples that evidenced Rome's engineering genius. But all the time, during this period of apparent stability, the seeds of decline were being sown. Prosperity masked the weaknesses within the empire. The extent of the Rome area made its administration cumbersome, with thin resources stretched further. Economically, though a boost was given by the conquests and slave laborers, there was actual disruption. The introduction of slaves brought more vulnerabilities. Since military campaigns were not continuous, fewer numbers of captives were brought in, which therefore reduced economic productivity. This was not helped either by the military structure of the empire. The Roman legions were extremely powerful but very expensive to maintain. By the 2nd century CE, growing pressures had started to emerge, such as the Antonine Plague, a terribly ghastly pandemic that swept through the empire during Marcus Aurelius's reign, probably from smallpox or measles. Plague devastated the population, leading to labor shortages that eventually got in the way of agriculture and trade. The weakened condition of the army thus made Rome more susceptible to outside threats and further weakened this already overextended defense. The 3rd century brought even more turmoil known as the crisis of the 3rd century from 235 to 284 CE. During this period, the control changed hands very fast, with emperors being regularly installed and deposed by their own troops. Indeed, during this chaotic 50-year period, over 50 emperors reigned, some of whom ruled for no more than a few weeks, which gives evidence of the instability the empire faced. Besides that, political fragmentation was further exacerbated by economic troubles like unprecedented inflation and the degradation of the currency. The unity of the empire was even more atomized with its temporary division into 3 parts: the Central Roman Empire, the Gallic Empire in the west, and the Palmyrene Empire in the east. Emperor Aurelian later succeeded in reunifying the empire, but this crisis had highlighted how hard it was to keep such a large empire together. The year 284 CE brought an attempt at dealing with these problems in the form of the rise of Diocletian. He realized that, given the size of the empire, it was a liability and thus established the Tetrarchy, the division of rule to 4 co-emperors in order to make governance more manageable. This reform indeed brought some temporal stability while setting in concrete the division between the eastern and western halves of the empire. In 305 CE, upon the abdication of Diocletian, power struggles resumed. It is from these that Constantine the Great emerged victorious, and he refounded his empire with a new capital, Constantinople in the east, better suited for defense and commerce. Constantine's reign heralded another, more religious transition. The Edict of Milan in 313 CE showed religious tolerance and placed Christianity, hitherto persecuted, in a favored position. This would have lasting effects, placing Christianity within the Roman identity and setting a basis for European history into the future as well. But when Constantine died, new factional fighting tore the empire asunder, and subsequent leaders could not re-establish stability. By the 4th and 5th centuries, the relentless pressure of invading tribes had taken its toll on the Western Roman Empire. The Huns, led by Attila, pushed the Germanic tribes toward Roman territory, such as the Visigoths and the Vandals. The sack of Rome in 410 CE by the Visigoths, led by Alaric, sent shockwaves throughout the empire, that is, a potential portrayal of Rome's vulnerability. Economic disparity, corruption, and political fragmentation further eroded stability. The empire was stretched too thin to repel its frontiers, and the provinces fell one after another. Britain was abandoned, the falls of Spain and North Africa followed. In 476 CE, the deposition of Romulus Augustulus by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer marked the end of the Western Roman Empire. By contrast, however, the Eastern Roman Empire, later to universally be known as the Byzantine Empire, survived. It continued to revolve around Constantinople in Roman culture, law, and administration, almost for another 1,000 years, until it finally fell to the Ottoman Turks in 1453. The fall of Rome was complex in nature, to be driven, it was said, by internal strife, economic hardship, military struggles, and external pressure. Yet, its legacy lives on into modern times, in our forms of government, architecture, engineering, and jurisprudence, a tribute to the enduring effect of Rome's rise and fall. Which of all the aspects of this Roman Empire do you think was most pivotal for its rise and decline? Share your opinions in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more in-depth historical insights.